Maestro.
Yo, what's good? What's going on, folks? Don't know what happened with the intro there,
So
but
you getting tired of my bars, homie?
it just said it won't play for me, so I'm just gonna roll right into it, man. Trey Frazier, Maestro Styles, welcome,
Yes,
folks.
sir.
It's the Barbershop Sports Talk podcast. We're streaming live on our Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, IG, and on Facebook Live. What's going on, man? How we feeling?
I'm tired as hell. A lot of trials and tribulations in the past 2 weeks. It seemed like I did my I took a little staycation for my birthday. And it seemed like the second I got back, we got right to the nonsense. So
Mm.
I'm back tired, but back on the grind. I'm cool.
All right, that's what's up. That's what's up. Well, I would say this though. I think you've had quite a better weekend than I have, for sure. Um, but I guess we can kind of get right into it. Oh, by the way, folks, again, we're streaming live, IG at Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast, Twitter at Barbershop SPOR2, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, live on Twitch right now. Um, Guests coming up in a few minutes. Jazz Monet of the Bitches Love Sports Podcast, also a writer for InsideTheStar.com, talks about the Cowboys and stuff like that. So we'll recap Saints versus Cowboys with her, and then we'll preview Ravens versus Cowboys along with that. But I guess we got to start with winners, man. So go ahead, take the floor, man.
Hey man, a win is a win. A win is a win. They are gonna stop. Well, this one ain't the ref, so I ain't gonna put it on the ref. So I ain't gonna say that. George Pickens has been robbed of some touchdowns in the earlier weeks. Well, I guess really just this week,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't know how that offensive PI would have went. I don't, George Pickens is a different type of dude. That offensive PI in week one, he might have took that to the house, but. Um, Hey man, a win is a win, man. You say what you want. Look, this defense is for real. Denver was a little better defensively than I thought they were. I
Right.
give them that. But you know, I expected us to win. We won. Shout out to the whole Pittsburgh Steelers organization. It's not much. Like, I wish I had a whole bunch of. I don't, man. Like we won. That's what I expected. That's what I hoped for. Um, the offense still looked mid at best, but maybe
Now,
that's
now,
just
now,
me.
why you say that? Is it because of how it looks, or is it just because of the
I
point?
think it's. I think it's. Well, look, man. When you're not scoring points, you're not scoring points. You could say, "Oh, we schemed it that way" and all that nonsense. Points are points. Again, I'll take the win, but we didn't score points.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that simple.
Yeah. Right.
Um,
Right.
so the offense ain't clicking, and I
Mm-hmm.
know Arthur Smith is a little more of a conservative offensive coordinator, but I also know in Tennessee they were scoring more than this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's only 2 weeks. Broderick Jones, I know I said I ain't have that, but now it's coming
Mm.
to me.
I was gonna say
Uh,
when I mean he had Derrick Henry, in Tennessee, so
well, look, and obviously Derrick Henry is a better running back than at that point in his career than Najee Harris is at this point in his career. But
yeah.
but a serviceable running back nonetheless. I don't think that's the telltale sign. I mean, I think Justin Fields got some adjusting to do. I think
Yep.
Broderick Jones being sat down is going to be healthy for him right now. I think he'll be an okay offensive lineman on this team for years to come. But he been fucking some shit up. He fucked some shit up last week. Too many offensive penalties on Broderick Jones. So he got sat down, and one that cost us a big third down. And probably Justin Fields' best throw of that game. So
Mm-hmm.
you just can't do that. You just can't do that. So the offense got a lot to, got a lot to work on. And we'll see what happens. I don't know that the Chargers are a better or a worse off defense than Denver, but hopefully we can get the offense flowing next week against not San Diego, LA.
Yeah, I kind of want to talk about the Chargers a bit too, because they kind of had a bye week. I've been hearing a lot of people call the Carolina Panthers the bye week because you know they're the worst team in the league, and we could get into the Bryce Young benching and all that also. But man, I gotta tell you, man, I'm so glad that I had an outing with the kids on Sunday to the roller
Hmm.
skating rink, and I didn't skate this time. I just let the kids, kind of do their thing because the Ravens, with a 10-point lead, you thinking, okay, they cool, they safe, and they had the game on at the skating rink, and I look up and they didn't tie that joint, and I'm like, all right, this is one of those. This is the Colts game from last season.
Hmm.
This is basically
Yep.
what that is, right?
Yep.
Um, man, I mean, I got a lot. I mean, I don't want to put everything out there on the table, but
Well, yeah, yeah.
offensive line is still trying to gel with the offensive line. I think there's some stubbornness with the head coach in terms of who he wants to place, on that right side of the line there. I think Derrick Henry is still now he was better this week than last week, but they're trying to run behind the right side of the line and it's not going well. Offense is too predictable right now because everybody knows when Henry's back there, it's a run, and when Justice Hill is back there, it's a pass for the most part
Mm-hmm.
through these two
Hmm.
games.
Hmm.
So they're gonna have to figure something out there. Um, Whether it's you're gonna start this right guard properly, or you're just gonna keep trying to put round pegs in a square hole, or however you say that.
Well,
Me,
interesting enough, man. Interesting
mm,
enough. I don't remember the exact. Y'all got some tough games coming up.
yeah, Cowboys, Buffalo, Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. Yep. Hmm.
Cowboys,
Yep.
Buffalo, Cincinnati.
And
So
I mean, I know. I guess we don't really know what Dallas is off for 2 weeks. Um, I think we know Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo looks like Buffalo that
they
we're
look
used to
good.
right
Buffalo
now.
looks good through two
Yeah, they
weeks.
like Buffalo we're used to. And I mean, Cincinnati played a good game against Kansas City, but division game, all those things with Cincinnati. Um, if y'all come out of this 1-4,
Oh, look, I'm gonna tell you right now,
mm-hmm,
because WNBA playoffs about to start this Sunday.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm,
know, the Liberty is a true championship contender this year. The Yankees are about to get rolling in a couple weeks in October. They're championship contending team, and then the Knicks, later in October, kicking off their championship contending season. So yeah, the Ravens could lose me. They could lose me early if things don't
mm.
go right now. And I'm just talking
Interesting.
about for this year. I'm talking about for this
Yeah,
season
yeah,
only.
yeah,
1-4, the season's over. 2-3, 2-3, they still got a chance at 2-3. So they gotta get two out of these next three in my book.
yeah. Okay,
They gotta get two out of
okay. I
three.
mean, it's,
I
it's
think
definitely doable. I mean, it's
yeah,
definitely
they
doable.
gotta, like we said, we still trying to figure out Dallas, in a sense. We saw what happened to them against the Saints. We're trying to figure out we know what Buffalo is, Cincinnati. They're trying to get themselves together as well, but you could tell that, um, I think let me tell you about that game against Kansas City. It's Lou Anarumo, bro. It's the defensive coordinator. For some reason, that D coordinator has something against Kansas City. Like there's some kind of
Mm.
sauce, some kind of
Yeah,
thing going on where
reasonably so.
he's right, right. There's something there. Um, Offensively, the Bengals don't scare me. Through these two games that I've watched, offensively they don't scare me.
They
Um,
don't scare me defensively.
you know, so well, um, I mean, I guess we did talk about their defense.
Yeah, I
Preseason
don't
we,
believe in
we
that defense. I believe in that
preseason
offense way more than I believe in.
preseason we talked about the defense, but again, now that we got to watch them offensively, they really don't scare me. I mean, Jamar Chase, that's the one guy you got to worry about. Everybody else, I'll take my chances with, single teaming those guys. Um, so yeah, we got to get 2 out of 3, man. And like I'll say this too about our run game. Um, we don't run it enough for my liking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at teams around the league. I'm looking at the Saints running the ball 52 times against Dallas on Sunday. I'm looking at the Chargers, and I mean, you talk about the guy that John wouldn't give the ball to in Cincinnati in the playoffs. That dude, J.K. Dobbins, is leading the league in rushing right now through 2 games. What,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
130 yards rushing
130 last week.
again
Yeah.
this week?
Mm-hmm.
And good luck with that on Sunday.
Oh, you think I'm concerned about that?
Good luck with that, because
Look,
Dobbins,
well,
if I remember correctly, when Dobbins was with us, he had a
yeah,
couple of
he gave us some issues. Yeah,
some
I'm
couple
not
nice
gonna front like he
games.
gave us some issues.
Yeah,
I know the Chargers played the Panthers, and who they play. I don't remember who they
the
played week
Raiders,
one,
the Raiders,
but
Oakland,
yeah,
Vegas. I mean, yeah,
yeah. Respectfully, none of them defenses are Pittsburgh, and I know who J.K. Dobbins is. I'll say that this will be his best test by far.
I would agree
So
with
far in
that.
the season.
I would agree
Yeah,
with
so
that.
I won't say that I'm super concerned about it. I know they have. Last I heard, they hadn't reported anything on Justin Herbert's injury. You know, he had a lower leg injury in the game, and he came back and finished the game.
Hmm.
But they seemed a little concerned about how ready he'll be against Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna need him to be 100%. You're gonna need that. We defense playing good right now.
yeah, yeah. Can't front about that.
Defense
Defense,
playing good right now.
y'all getting the turnovers for sure. I think y'all leading the league in that right now.
Hmm.
So yeah, yeah, for sure, man. But yeah, man. The Ravens just don't run the ball enough for me, man. I mean, they
And
keep
that's it.
preaching.
They
What's
don't
that?
run the ball. You said that's it, and that's it for you. They don't run the ball enough.
They don't. Yeah, they don't. To me, they don't run the ball enough for me. They talk about it. They trying to act like they want to be about it, but um, I don't. I mean, maybe they just mean they want to run Lamar Jackson. Maybe that's what they mean by we want to run the ball. We don't want to use the
That
running
would
backs.
that would be that would be foolish though.
We we don't want to use the running backs as much. We want Lamar to run. Like no, I don't want Lamar to run. I want him to. You could draw up maybe 4 or 5 running plays for him, and if he's got to scramble on some other stuff, let him do that. But I want Derrick Henry to touch the ball 20 plus times. Um,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Like I want this dude to get his carries. But like I said earlier, offensive line to get that straightened out. Maybe that'll come with the 20 plus carries for Derrick Henry. And we're going up against a Dallas defense that gives up a lot on the run game. So
Yeah.
we should be able to eat. We definitely should be able to eat, man. Shout out to my guy, Kick a Trippy, man. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you, man.
Okay.
Go
I'm
ahead.
glad I
Go
saw
ahead.
him
Go ahead.
because I ain't want to assume that was him yelling at Marlon Humphrey, but I thought that was him yelling at Marlon Humphrey on Twitter today.
Yep. You know it was.
That was a, yeah,
That
yeah. I was scrolling and I reposted it because get your shit off and I'm enjoying how y'all looking right now. I'm enjoying that. But I was like, is that my man right there? Getting that Marlon Humphrey like that? Hey, salute, Mike. Salute,
Yeah.
salute.
Hey, look,
Tell
what he
tell your
saying?
cornerback.
What he saying? He
You
doing
worried
more
about
in
the
the
podcast? You
podcast
too much?
than
Too much? We too worried about the podcast. Well,
yeah,
I ain't know
yeah,
Marlon Humphrey even had a podcast for real. I ain't gonna hold you.
yeah. He do. I don't listen to it. But I
I
know he got a
definitely gotta listen.
podcast. I
Yeah,
know he does
bro.
one.
Yeah, man.
So
Yeah. I was going to say you saying the running game, and sure, I could
mm-hmm.
gather that that's a thing, but that boy got. I watched Marlon Humphrey get. I don't know if it was last week or this week where Marlon Humphrey got smoked on a go route. I want to say it was who y'all play week one again.
Oh, it was Kansas City. It was Rasheed Rice. Rasheed
I
Rice
see right.
was
Yeah.
giving us the business. Yeah.
Nah, I don't even think it was Rice. I think it was Worthy who smoked him for a touchdown though. The rookie. I think
Mm,
it was the rookie that smoked him for a touchdown.
well,
And I'm saying, look at
that
him.
was a run. That was a run. That wasn't necessarily a
Okay,
pass, but that was like the little run.
so maybe
That
it
was like the
was
little
right.
pitch back.
Whoever it was, I just remember Marlon Humphrey getting ran by, and saying, "Damn, that don't look good for your quote unquote best cornerback."
He's been really I don't know. He been kind of slipping lately. I mean, you if you remember what I
I mean,
said,
but we talked about it last year.
right, that's what I'm saying. That's what I was just
Yeah.
ready to say. We talked about in the offseason. If you had to go to Marlon Humphrey, be like, hey man, we might need you to, cough up some dough, or we might have to give you the cuts, man. Um, but it's just not looking good.
Man, ain't
But
about
there's
to
a lot of
do
changes though. It's a lot of changes. D coordinator change. I mean, that makes a big difference. I think early on, I think Zach Orr is trying to get familiar with the defense and trying to put players in certain positions. Like I don't like the way he's using Kyle Hamilton right now, and Kyle Hamilton maybe slightly hurt these first couple of weeks, but I just don't like the way he's, not being aggressive with with the defense. So I
it.
think they're trying to get used to Zach Orr on defense. I think the offensive line is trying to get used to itself with the changes there. I mean, it's three new offensive linemen that's starting, so but they got to get it together real quick, man, because 0-2 could easily be, it could be 0-4, it could be 0-5, it could be 1-4, 2-3, or we could be 3-2. I mean, best case scenario, 3-2 after these next three. 2-3, I'll hold on. 1-4, I'm watching the WNBA playoffs after that, bro.
Oh man.
The season's over at that point. The season's gonna be a
Damn, the
wrap
season
there.
over after 4 losses.
One, if
In
it's
your
oh,
mind?
definitely if it's four, if it's 0-4, if it's 0-4,
Okay.
it
Well, because I know we was talking about the next 3 games. So if y'all
right.
got one out of the next three, you'd be 1-4. You would be you'd be
I
off
think
the
I think it's as far as Super Bowl contention,
right.
that's off the table. If we're
Mm.
1-4, that's no longer a conversation.
But all you gotta do is get in the game though. All you gotta do is get in the playoffs.
Get in the playoffs, yeah, I get it. I get it. Get hot at the right time. But I've seen this movie once before. 2015, we started out 0-3. I think we beat you guys the next week. We were 1-3, and then the
Mm-hmm.
injury started to mount up, and then before you know it, we ran out of roster players at that point. We ended up with 5-11 that year. So hopefully it don't get to that point. Like if we're like 2-3, 1-4, if guys are still healthy, like the important key guys,
Mm-hmm.
then I give them a shot. But when you 1-4 and that pressure's on you, and you trying to play harder than you normally are, that leads to injuries, and before you know it, man, it's just hard to make up. So hopefully they get 2 out of 3,
Yeah.
man. Hopefully they get two out
Well,
of three.
I am looking forward at y'all. The way y'all starting right now is making me look forward to y'all having to play us at the end of this regular season. Um, for the ability to possibly eliminate y'all from the playoffs. So I that is on my mind.
Well, don't look too far ahead. You
I mean,
still
just
got it.
yeah,
You still got it. Y'all got a
man.
tough. Y'all got a tough second half schedule though
Yeah,
too.
yeah. It's all the AFC North for the most
Hmm.
part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Eagles is in there and Chiefs is in
I
there.
think so, but I mean, if you're talking about the bottom eight, yeah, because the Chiefs is on Christmas Day.
Hmm.
I don't know I know we got the entire AFC North on the bottom eight of the season.
Right, right. Yeah, that's gonna be
That which
rough.
is that is. I mean, look, I don't know. Again, I don't know that the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be a good team this year. That's just my opinion.
Hmm.
And I thought the Browns would be good, and maybe they'll be better, but they don't look like they
Who
about
they
to be
play?
too
Who they
good.
just play Sunday? Jacksonville.
They play Jacksonville.
Okay, so that's not
I
really
want to
a.
say Jacksonville squeak by. I want to say,
No, no, no.
or did they
Browns won
win?
that game.
The Browns won. Okay.
The Browns won,
Okay.
but
So I
that I
mean, but
don't.
they still didn't look good. Let's be clear. They did.
Right, right.
Yeah, they
Like
look
it.
dominant. Let me say that.
Right, exactly. I don't like those two games they've played. I think Cleveland is, mid right now. We'll see what they do against the
Hmm.
tougher competition. You think
Hey man,
Bengals?
it's
You
still
think the
early.
Bengals are done? You think the Bengals are like
Um, I don't. I didn't have them going to the playoffs this year. So
right, 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 right.
yeah, I don't have them in the playoffs. So
Hmm.
I think they'll not be in the playoffs. Low key, as mid as our division is right this second after two games, Pittsburgh is the best team right this second.
Yeah. Hey, look, enjoy it, man. I would say
And that's
this.
not saying much. And let me be clear, that's not saying much. That's not saying a lot.
Sure. No, I
I'm
get
just
it.
saying as it stands right now.
I get it. I
But I
get
did
it.
see a dumbass. I did see a dumbass power ranking today
Hmm.
that still had us below every other team in the AFC North, and we undefeated.
Hmm. Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't.
That's
I don't know if it was Fox or I don't remember who it was,
right.
but I
Right.
remember it's like I saw it like
Okay. I would definitely rank you guys of the teams that are undefeated right now. I would definitely put you guys at the bottom. Maybe
yeah,
second to
sure,
bottom at best. Yeah.
sure. I ain't look. I can admit we're not hitting on all cylinders right now.
To
The
sustain
defense is
right. To
playing
sustain the winning, you're gonna have to be better on offense than what you've shown the
on
first couple of
offense.
weeks.
Period.
Yeah.
Period.
Nope.
Yeah.
Get it.
Period.
Totally get it. Totally get it. All right. Let's welcome the guest for the week. Jazz Monet from the Bitches Love Sports podcast on YouTube, also a writer for InsideTheStar.com. She joins us with some Cowboys talk and hopefully a good time. Jazz, how you doing? Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. How's everything?
I'm good. How are you?
We're doing
Can you
good.
hear
We're
me?
doing yes, yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Cool.
We can hear
I
you.
can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. I'm sitting here thinking, how many times is Trey gonna say bitches? I know that's a cringe. It's kind of a cringe-worthy word for you.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, it is what
So
it
what?
is, man. We got to promote though. We got to promote the podcast. So,
I
you
had
know,
no problem saying the word bitch. So I'm just so glad. I was just,
hey,
it's just, I listened to you say it a few times, and it seemed, I almost felt like you was air quoting every time you said it.
oh no, I said that's the
No, no, no.
name of her platform.
You're
You
doing a
know.
good job, man. I just remember when you showed me the show notes, and then I said, "Oh, somebody got a podcast called Bitches Love Sports." I love that title personally, but I
Hmm.
know Trey just don't say that word a whole lot. At least it's back in his
I
backsliding
don't.
days. I know
I
him
don't.
for about
I
20
don't. I
years.
don't say that word a lot, but it's the name. It's the platform. We got to promote. So
There
we
are a
just
lot of
handling
people who
business.
don't like to say it, and they'll refer to it as the BLS podcast. So that's why, like, if
Oh,
you usually if you see me share a clip, the heading will
Hmm.
say the BLS podcast, Because I've
Right.
literally had people be like, I want to share your clips, but I just don't know how so and so will feel. And I'm like, okay, fine. Like that was my compromise.
Ah. How did so
That's a
what
good compromise.
inspired the name of the podcast, if you don't mind us asking?
You want the long story, the full story? So it was during the pandemic and the Olympics were going on. 2021, that was when they moved the 2020 Olympics. And me and my friends, we would like literally get up every day and just be texting each other about sports. And I had this homeboy that I would call, and I would kind of transition from I'd be talking about USA men's basketball, for example, and I'd be
Mm.
talking about the game, and then I would transition from that to kind of like objectifying some of the players that I like, and then go back to talking about the game. And he'd be like, yo, it's kind of weird to like listen to you do that. He's like, maybe you should get a podcast or something. And so I talked about it with my friends, and we were trying to come up with a name. And at the time, I would talk to my dad a lot about it. Like everybody's like secluded, or what was the word, quarantined, right? And so I would talk to my dad on the phone a
Mm-hmm.
lot. May he rest in peace. But he was blind,
God
right?
bless
So pretty much all the cool stuff on social media, me and my brothers would have to describe to him. And one of the things that he really got a kick out of was those memes that was like, bitches love da 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 da. Like one of his favorite ones
you.
was get that bitch a plunger. Bitches love bringing up old shit, right? So every time I found a new one, I would call him and read it to him, and he'd be like, "Oh, that's so funny." And so when we were trying to come up with a name, and almost every name we could think of had either been used or wasn't used, and I was like, one day I was on the phone with my dad, and I was like, "What about bitches love sports?" And he was like, it's controversial, but if anybody could pull it off, I think it's you, kid. And so I talked to my friends about it, and we decided to go with it, and now it's just me. So uh,
Nice.
here we are.
No,
Oh,
hey,
so it started off with you and other people, or
Yeah.
okay.
Initially, I had two co-hosts. One of them was a teacher, and she was really concerned about the school
Uh,
district having a problem with her
mm-hmm,
being on it, so she wasn't on
mm,
very frequently. And eventually, she just
mm-hmm.
stopped. And then I had another friend who she's actually part of the reason we started covering the Cowboys so much, because she had never seen American football before. She was from Spain, and
Oh,
we would at the time cover sports and also sports content. And that summer was when the Cowboys were on Hard Knocks. And so we were like, yeah, we'll watch Hard Knocks every week and talk about it on the show. And she just fell in love with Ezekiel Elliott. She just thought he was the most fascinating creature she'd ever seen in her life. And so we started talking about that on the show. And then we went from that to covering them during the regular season. Because I
mm,
grew up in Louisiana. So at the time, I was actually more of a Saints fan, but I was already living in Texas. I was in Austin. And it was really hard to catch Saints games in that market anyway. So
mm,
we would watch the Cowboys game
mm-hmm.
because she became a fan, and I needed to kind of introduce her to the rules of football. And so that's how we started talking more and more about the Cowboys. But yeah, it was all of us. And so even though it's me by myself now, I
yeah.
still keep the name Bitches Love Sports plural, because something else that we did at the time was we had a Facebook group for women to come in and talk about sports. And a lot of the women had the same story, where when they were in the male dominated spaces, it's like if they said one thing wrong, like even if it was just a mistake, not that they didn't know something, but they just misspoke. And I've experienced this too. I had a video I put up recently, because I don't write as much anymore, but I am on a Cowboys produced podcast called Girls Talk Boys Talk. And I was talking about Alvin Kamara, and I was talking about his yards after contact. And for some reason, I said carry instead of contact. And like there were people in the comments
Mm,
like going off on me like they've never heard anybody in the media misspeak. And we
Yeah.
learned that that's like a really common experience among women, where it's just like
yeah,
any little thing you have a question about, any mistake that you make, it's like there are men who just cannot wait to belittle you, humble you,
Yeah.
just insult you. And they were like, oh, I'm so glad to have a safe space to learn about sports, because I can't go into these other groups. They're so disrespectful. They're so rude. It's not pleasant. And then also like the ones who do kind of like to have a little bit of fun with who they have crushes on, they felt safe talking about it there as well. So that was another thing. Like they'd be
gotcha.
like, yeah, we know these games, but as soon as I say somebody's cute, nobody wants to listen to me anymore. So it became very much a safe haven for women to be like, okay, we can really take ownership of our fandom here and enjoy sports the way we want to. So
Mm.
I supported them in that.
That's, That's what's up. That's a very good thing to be able to objectify men the way you want to objectify. I'm trying to get into the WNBA, and I am certainly looking forward to objectifying women in the WNBA. But meanwhile, knowing the stats. So you mentioned that you knew of so you were a Saint. You started a Saints fan, and I guess you kind of transitioned from to a Dallas fan. So it kind of works that how what were your feelings after that ass whipping that the Cowboys took?
I mean, I've always been conflicted, like pretty much for the last two seasons, because the switch came from two things. Part of it was the fact that Alvin Kamara, my favorite player, was injured so much, and just the status of the team started to decline. And on top of that, it was just harder for me to find a Saints community in Texas anyway. And a lot of the games are not
Hmm.
on TV. So it's like, it's already hard for me to get the information. It's already hard for me to
Right.
keep up with the team. And then when I do put in the effort, usually what I would see was not good news. And so between that and me just having to help my friend learn football through the Cowboys, it just became kind of a transition. So like if you go back to some of our first episodes, like you can hear it. We would talk about the Saints and the Cowboys, and then there was a game where the Saints were playing the Cowboys, and I was very much conflicted. And so this past weekend, it's like, yeah, it was tough to watch. It was very tough to watch, especially working with the Cowboys now and actually talking to some of those guys face to face and knowing their thoughts going into that game, and knowing what a lot of us expected after seeing how they performed against Cleveland, right? But then there was a part of me that was just
Hmm.
like, it's really good to see Alvin Kamara bounce back and for him to
Mm-hmm.
have a
Right.
resurgence this way that a lot of people thought he wouldn't experience. And
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I was one of the people who thought that Derek Carr to the Saints was not gonna go well. So I was like, wow, they actually found an
Mhm.
OC who can like help him play to his strengths. So it's like it was good to know that I know so many people who are Saints fans and that that team makes so many people happy and that they have something to be happy about and it's not going to be another season where they start wearing paper bags on their head and stuff. And then like I don't know how
Mhm.
many people know this, but like the Saints fans had a whole second line in front of AT&T Stadium. And so I wasn't there, but me growing up in Louisiana, that was really fun to see. Like when I do get to watch the Saints games on TV, and I hear them singing like halftime and just the Louisiana culture aspect of the fandom, that part I very much miss. And so
Mm-hmm.
it was tough to watch, but like seeing videos of a second line in Arlington, Texas, that was dope. That was dope. So
Yeah, I saw
Mhm.
that.
yeah.
I saw that. Had the whole
Two
band
sides to
out
the
there and
coin.
everything.
Yeah, and people were like, somebody brought a trombone on a plane, and I was like, first of all, these people they probably drove. Like there
Yeah.
probably was no bringing a trombone on a plane, and
Right,
even if they did,
right.
it's nothing to them. Like that's really not a big deal. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the offensive coordinator because so me and Maestro we have our preseason picks before the season starts, and
Mhm.
when we make our predictions, it's not like we like deep dive into each team because we really don't got much time to do it. We just kind of base it off of
Relatable. Yep.
off-season moves, what we've seen the previous year, and what we think's going to happen this year. And me and him didn't have the Saints on our radar as far as like being
Mhm.
a playoff team, right? So when I saw what they did last week, it was like, okay, it's the worst team
It's
in the
the Panthers.
league. It's the Panthers. It's a bye week, kind of a thing. And in my head, I'm like, okay, let's see if they could back it up. So they go from playing the worst team in the league to a team that most people say is a Super Bowl contender, but we know it's the Cowboys, but the Cowboys are still a much more talented team than the Panthers are. And for
Mhm.
them to do that on Sunday, 44 points, 4 touchdowns from Alvin Kamara, Derek Carr looking like a I don't want to say an MVP candidate, but he's looking definitely crisp with the offense he's running.
He cooked
Big shout
them.
out to the Saints. Big shout out to the Saints.
Shout
I
out to
had
Clint
no
Kubiak.
idea about Clint Kubiak being the new
Yeah.
offensive coordinator. So now I got
Mhm.
to look at the Saints a little differently now. Now I'm
Everyone does.
thinking I'm thinking okay, this team could potentially be a playoff team now. Again, it's 2 games, but again, worst team in the league. versus the Cowboys, who have a lot more talent.
I think
Um,
the Saints could definitely end up being a playoff team. There were a lot of people who were not familiar with Clint Kubiak's game. I'm one of them. There were even a lot of people in the
Mm-hmm.
national media who were in the same category as you, who did not have the Saints on their radar as being as competitive as they've proven to be. But I don't think what we've seen from them so far is a fluke. Like I didn't even know Derek Carr was that good at taking snaps from under center, right? That is a special skill among
Mm-hmm.
quarterbacks because of the speed with which you have to communicate what you're going to do and the precision with which you have to execute and make sure everybody is on the same page, right? And
yeah,
so the way that Kubiak is using motion, the way that he's disguising things, using motion and using the snaps from under center, and also the way that he's using that motion to manipulate specific matchups. It's not just like, okay, we're going to play this defense like this. Like you can actually tell that he's considering the individuals who are on the field at very
Right.
specific times. And so that's what makes me think that he's going to be able to take that scheme pretty far. There's
yeah,
just so much creativity and thought behind it that I could see him just like 1 week at a time picking off team after team. I don't know if they'll go undefeated. It's one of those situations where if they did, I would be like, yeah, I could see how they could do that. But yeah, I definitely believe that if they keep it up, if they keep
yeah.
things going the way that they're going, yeah, playoff team, absolutely.
Their defense was already solid. Kind of coming in. We just didn't
Mm-hmm.
believe in the offense coming into the season. If you go back to those Gary Kubiak offenses when he was head coach of the Texans,
Hmm.
it looks like some of the similar stuff that his son is running now. And that
Yeah,
goes back to like
Yeah.
the Shanahan stuff. It's kind of
yeah.
Shanahan stuff. Yeah.
all tied in together, which kind of leads me to the question. The Cowboys and particularly the defense, it seems like this defense just can't handle
Mr.
that
Dan Quinn.
style of offense. Yeah. What's up with that? And Dan Quinn ain't
That's
there no more. So
that's the
who's that?
question a lot
Zimmer.
of
Mike
yeah.
Zimmer is the D coordinator now.
Yeah, that's a question a lot of people have been asking because with a new defensive coordinator, there was an expectation of having a different performance against that style of offense, and so I think that's why a lot of people are like, "Oh, this feels like the Green Bay game." Um, it's one of those things where it's like the symptoms are the same, but the
Hmm.
cause is different, and so I do want to give Zimmer a chance to kind of I guess, incorporate some of the things that he wants to do
Mm-hmm.
defensively before I completely just say, okay, he's not the DC that we need. Now, are there people who are more equipped to handle Shanahan style offenses? Absolutely. But do I think Zim can figure it out? Absolutely. Especially once you start looking at the film and you start seeing certain things that the players could do differently. Like our defensive lineman got beat up. Like one thing you don't want to see is a defensive lineman moving backwards. And there were just so
Mm-hmm.
many instances where it just felt like they couldn't keep up, couldn't get to the right blocks. They were getting pushed backwards. They were getting just manhandled, and it was affecting the linebackers. And so you're seeing like the defensive linemen having trouble, and it's just like a ripple effect from there through the rest of the defense. And so that's like one thing that has nothing to do with Zimmer, has everything to do with their effort and execution. That if they can fix and do better in that area, we'll see the defense be able to perform a lot better. Um, then there were certain things where Zim said himself in his press conference that he felt like he didn't prepare the team well enough for it. Now, I don't know specifically what he was referring to, but there are some people who are wondering if they were a little bit hesitant in what they were seeing in front of them, just like not doing that great a job of reading what the offense was actually doing, which, like we just said, Kubiak is good at disguising things. So, like, of course,
Yeah.
they had a little bit of trouble. But Zim seemed to take responsibility for not preparing them for that, and so I think that is
Mm-hmm.
something that's going to be necessary during the season moving forward. Not that I expect every offense to look like that, but it's a copycat league. So once one team had success against the Cowboys, and it's like you even see insights come out like, Micah Parsons' get off time was the fifth slowest of his career. You think other OCs aren't going to want to copy something that slowed down Micah Parsons? Like, yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff that gave them trouble, they're going to have to figure it out. But I trust them to do it.
Go ahead, Maestro.
No, okay, so let's talk about the Cowboys. Let's talk about projections. So obviously, 2 weeks in, 1-1, you looked amazing against Cleveland. Cleveland, I believe, was week one, and then not so much against against the Saints. Obviously, Dak got paid, CD got paid. We want to know about Michael Parsons in the near future. Like you said, Zimmer is over there now at DC. Um, how far is this team going to go, in your humble opinion?
How far? Like, you mean postseason wise?
Postseason, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I expect them to make the playoffs. I think they have the talent necessary
Hmm.
to do that. And there does seem to be an awareness of what needs to be fixed. I think the next few weeks are going to tell us a lot in terms of how good of a job they do in fixing the things that need to be fixed, which the run game is an issue on the defensive side and the offensive side. So it's like you can start right there and make some changes and really change people's opinion of the team. So, I guess I don't know if you want to say that it's due to my fandom or just optimism, but I trust them to work on it and to get better and good enough to make the playoffs. I would like to see them do better. I would like to see them at least, get two playoff wins under their belt before they're eliminated. And of course, who wouldn't want to see them like win a Super Bowl? But as far as if they will do it,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I know that people I hate making predictions, first of all. That's one thing that I need everybody to know about me. I hate making predictions. And after week 2, we have to think about the fact that whether or not they make the playoffs and how far they go does depend on what other teams are doing. So you look around the
Yeah.
division and it's just kind of like, okay, there's a few things that we have to figure out, especially with teams like the Eagles and what that offense is going to look like. A lot of people expected Kellen Moore to go there and make some mistakes. We saw a couple of those mistakes last night, right?
Mhm.
Um,
We also saw one of their
Hmm.
number. We also saw their number one receiver not play, and he may not
yes,
play for the next couple of weeks. And I think
yes,
that's huge for Philly if they don't have
absolutely.
AJ Brown. So
Yeah, so there's just a lot of questions to be answered in terms of like, okay, what is that playoff bracket going to look like? What is their road to the playoffs going to look like? Some of the teams that are coming up on their schedule, we don't even necessarily know what to expect. Even if we started to get to the point where we thought we knew what to expect, there are so many teams that just show up to play the Cowboys and they show up different. So it's kind of like, I think they have the talent to make it to the playoffs. I think they'll have a solid playoff run, but I mean, it's the NFL. Any given Sunday and all that noise, like anything could happen.
yeah, I think what we're seeing
Yeah.
early with the injuries, like I think that seems to be one of the stories coming out of this week is, you look at San Francisco, Debo Samuel has been ruled out next week. McCaffrey's
Hmm.
already on the IR, so they're going to look different despite the system they run. And then you look around the conference and you're looking at some of the surprises. Minnesota's 2-0, Tampa Bay is 2-0. Detroit, had a little slip up against Tampa Bay this weekend. So I think the injuries are like the story so far in the conference, and we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, if you're Dallas, I think you want to, jump on these teams early that got injury issues. Right now, Dallas, to my recollection, doesn't have a lot of injury issues right now.
Not a lot of big issues. We were without Jake Ferguson against the Saints, which some people
Hmm.
say affected the outcome because the offense didn't have any threats up the seam. Okay,
Hmm.
I don't know if that would have affected the like
That
who ended
defense
up
was
in the
getting
win or loss
gashed.
comment. Right. And so I feel like that's the major one. I know there's somebody else that I'm not thinking of. And I'm gonna kick myself after I get off of here for not thinking of it. But I wouldn't say there's, it's not like CD Lamb is still there. Like, let me knock on wood. We don't want nothing happen to CD. But so
Hmm.
it's like
Fact.
nobody that
Fact.
big has been out. Um, but I consider Jake Ferguson being out to be kind of a big deal. Like he's definitely been one pass. So yeah, it really might have played a role in how they approached the offense and what they decided to run.
Yeah. So we have this thing where about the Cowboys, where me and Trey acknowledge that they are in what's called a Super Bowl window, and I think me and Trey agree that, and even with the Dak signing, I think their window is about a strong 2-3 years to win this Super Bowl. Trey, I think that's
I
where
would
we
say
kind of
that.
at with
Yep.
it.
Hmm.
Yeah, about 2 or 3 years.
I'll say about that. Yep.
How are y'all getting over this hump?
That's a good question. I would say like there's several things that could improve, and I'm trying to figure out how to express them without throwing anybody under the bus, because I don't want to
Oh,
knock our
oh
current
yeah.
staff, right? I
Okay,
don't, but
okay.
it's like
That's good.
if you look at the scheme and what we've seen so far, like I know there are a lot of people who are hoping for a lot more creativity on the offensive side of the ball. And it's like Mike McCarthy actually admitted this himself in his recent press conference, that part of the reason why you're seeing so many teams run Shanahan style offenses is because they've seen success. And so with it
Yeah,
being a copycat league, more and more teams want to do that. And so I'm just like, okay, well, when are the Cowboys going to start doing that? And I don't expect to see them like this season all of a sudden switch up everything that they installed during training camp, right? But as
Hmm.
far as doing something within this window, which I would consider the window to be as long as Dak Prescott is there, I do
ooh,
think we're going to need a little bit more creativity on the offensive side. I think we have some weapons that could be used better. Like there are already people who are calling for Deuce Vaughn to be left off the field. But it's like if you really watch the film, there are so many things that are not going well when they try to give him an opportunity that I'm like, I'm not ready to write off Deuce Vaughn. I know he's short. I know people want to act like he shouldn't be good because he's short, but he has a lot of skills that he's bringing to the table. But you got to scheme for him. And I
yeah,
feel like they're not doing that. Like using him as an option on RPOs and trying to send him up the A gap. Like I just don't feel like that's the thing for Deuce Vaughn. I feel
got
like you need to come up with something especially for him. And if
Hmm.
teams know that it's coming, okay, fine. Like how often do you see a team run something that is like, okay, we know it's coming, but like there's not anything anybody can do about it because that's what that person is good at, or that's what that group of people is good at.
it. Hmm.
And I feel
Hmm.
like there's so much potential for that with the Cowboys, where it's like you've just got certain people who are good at certain things. And if you would just like scheme for them to be able to do that, then we could get so much further. On the
Yeah.
defensive side, I feel like we're starting to see that emerge a little bit. And we've got some really awesome weapons. Like with this game coming up against the Ravens, there are people asking the question, like, okay, somebody should be a spy on Lamar Jackson. Is it going to be Micah or is it going to be Overshown? And I'm like, it could be either one. That's one of the dope things about our defense right now. And I personally wouldn't be surprised if it's Overshown, but like that's a whole different
I
conversation.
was going to say,
But
I
yeah,
think it's definitely over now.
yeah, but I feel like when it comes to getting over the hump, I think it's gonna take creativity. It's going to take really looking at the strengths of the offense. And yes, probably a couple of good pieces. Like I think we could use another good wide receiver. I think if
Oh,
we
I was
could get
going.
another
Absolutely.
good defensive tackle, that would be good. Another good running back, that would also be really dope. So like adding in any of those areas would be awesome. But if you keep running plays and if you keep using the same scheme that you've been using, you're going to water down what anybody brings to the table. So they're going to have to fix both things.
So I have to ask the magic question that everybody asks every year because he is one of the best quarterbacks in the league that has not yet crossed the threshold of victory that everybody feels like he should have crossed by now. Because you said that you feel like as long as he's there, you guys have a shot, which is good. Stand on that. I love that. I love that. But what do you say to the people who feel like he is not? And trust me, here in the DMV, where Commanders fans run rapid, and Dallas fans for that matter, but the constant conversation is that Dak Prescott is a good quarterback, but not the quarterback to take Dallas to the Super Bowl. And what are your? I mean, well, I know what your thoughts on that, but kind of elaborate on what your thoughts on that are.
I mean, who else would it be? Like honestly,
Sure.
like people say that as though like every good quarterback is supposed to go to a Super Bowl within the first 5 years of their career or something. But we've seen good quarterbacks not do that. We've
Mhm.
seen good quarterbacks go to the Super Bowl and not win it. So I just feel like
Yeah.
there are way too many factors that go into getting a championship to say that somebody can't do it just because they haven't done it yet. I mean, look at how they were talking about Peyton Manning before he got his. Like they talked about him like he just wasn't nothing. I don't know if we can curse on your program, but
Oh
like
no,
they
you
thought,
can
Let
please
it
say.
yeah,
rip. Let it rip.
yeah. So they talked about him like he wasn't shit, right? But then all of a
Mhm.
sudden he wins one, and they're like, oh, he's so great, and he's got such good football IQ and yada yada yada. And it's like that was true before he got a Super Bowl, but it just
Hmm.
wasn't part of the storyline because nobody wanted to acknowledge it. And I feel the same way about Dak Prescott. He's got the skill set, he's got the football IQ, he's got the leadership, but there's so many things that have to fall in place and go well in order to win a Super Bowl that yeah, it does require a little bit of luck. Because if you think about it, the regular season is what it is, but the postseason
Hmm.
is a single elimination tournament. But if the
Hmm.
postseason ran like the regular season, where it's like you lost the game, but then you could still keep going, I think Dak probably could have won one by now if it was judged by some
Interesting.
other metric. But it's like the truth is, in a single elimination system, most people who even get there are going to have losing records. So it's
Yeah.
like usually what they're basing it off of is like, oh, he's got a losing record in the playoffs. Most quarterbacks who have been to the playoffs have a losing record in the playoffs.
Right. Right.
Statistically, that's how
Right.
that works, you know?
Unless Patrick
And then there are a
Mahomes.
lot of quarterbacks who haven't
I was
been
about
there
to
at all.
say, unless you Patrick Mahomes.
Right, right. But like he's one of a few. But
Yeah.
statistically,
Yep.
most quarterbacks who make it to the playoffs will have a losing record in the playoffs because that's how single elimination tournaments work.
Yep.
So yeah, I really haven't heard anything that actually sounds like a good solid argument for saying that Dak can't do it. Now, if you don't believe he will, okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Because if you're
Hmm.
talking about one team out of 32 and you get one shot every year
Hmm.
in order to win a championship. So statistically, once again, going back to that, it's difficult. It's hard. So if you're just like, yeah, I just don't believe he will. Okay, he might not.
Hmm.
But to say I don't believe he can, I feel like that's a different thing. I think he can, and I think things will come together for him to get it done.
Yeah, two
Is there
things they
something
base
in
it off
his
of.
game?
Oh, go ahead,
Oh,
Maestro. I'm
go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead. Is there something in his game that you feel like he can improve to improve his probability though?
I think having a little bit more confidence and aggressiveness early on, like I feel like the press conference he did after this most recent game, one of the most disappointing statements that I heard him make was when he said, I got to remember I can use my feet. And I'm like, I don't want you to
Mm-hmm.
remember that after an embarrassing loss like that. I need you to remember that, like, during the first series, when shit starts to go awry, that's when I
Yeah.
need you to remember that you can use your feet.
Yeah.
That, like, that's when I need you to start making those checks at the line and get this offense moving faster. There was so much that was happening, just like slow developing plays, a lot happening behind the line of scrimmage before they even started getting positive yardage. That I'm just like, yo, if he would have maybe just picked up the ball and taken off some of those times instead of like staring around and checking down and ending up only getting like a yard or something like that anyway, maybe the outcome could have been different because like football is
Mhm.
also a game of momentum. It's
Yeah.
like you start getting yards down the field, you keep a game close within one possession or tied, people feel different, they perform different. Or if you get a lead, your defense can do different things. They have a little bit more leeway. So it's stuff like that I would like to see from him. I would like to see him take a little bit more charge, a little bit more control earlier on, and not wait until week 4, week 5 to actually show
Mhm.
that he has that in him.
I was gonna say there's two things, kind of going back to the whole, can they, can Dak get to the Super Bowl? Well, folks base it off of the contract. Whether you're a rookie and you're on a rookie deal, that's the window. Once you pay the quarterback, then you're kind of out of that window unless the GM, has amazing drafts, moving forward. So that people base it off of those things when it comes to can guys get to the Super Bowl. I mean, some guys get there, they lose and they don't go back. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like early on in the career. I mean, Dan Marino went his second year and he never went back, and he's one of the
Mhm.
greatest quarterbacks to ever live. So I think in this day and age, unless you like did what the Rams did and getting a veteran to get you over the hump, or what Tampa did to get Tom Brady and get them to get over the hump, your chances of winning a Super Bowl are probably going to be when you got that rookie guy on a rookie deal and you're able to build the rest of the team around him with the rest of the cap space. That's kind of how I see it. I want to know if you see it the same way.
I mean, a lot of people see it that way. I think that's a very simple and easy way of looking at it. I
That's an
don't think it's
ideal
wrong.
way.
I
Yeah.
I look at it as like, hey, that's one approach. Okay, and
Hmm.
I don't think anything's wrong with feeling that way, but I don't think it's the only way.
Yeah.
Definitely not the only
Yeah,
way. Definitely
yeah.
not.
Yeah.
I think that's an ideal way. I think that if you draft a quarterback and you believe him to be your franchise quarterback, you want to build a team around him. And as he progresses to become the franchise quarterback you believe you drafted him to be, you pay him, and then you don't have to have such a good team around because you have the quarterback who's getting majority of the snaps, touching the ball every offensive play, making things happen. I think Dak is in that situation now where he's had the experience, he's seen everything there is to see in the NFL. So you don't necessarily have to have top tier talent all around you because what you provide as a quarterback should be enough to supplement had not having the best top five running back in the league. I know they got a top five receiver in the league, but and he's young, but you don't have to have all the best pieces. Like this isn't I wouldn't say the Cowboys is the best roster in the NFL, but Dak is a big piece of he is one of the better players in the league. Michael Parsons is one of the better players in the league. Obviously, CD Lamb is one of the better players in the league. So I think that talent as supplements having in my opinion, lack of a number two and a Brandon Cooks. I don't believe he's a number two for me. I don't believe that Ezekiel Elliott. I don't know if he's number one and Juice Vaughn's number two. I don't know what's going on there, but
They don't
Dak
either.
Prescott. Yeah, exactly. Dak Prescott at this point of his career should be able to supplement that lack of in that department based on his knowledge of the game. So I think that's the interesting part of where Dak is in his career, and I think he'll be fine as far as he'll still be one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I think the major critique of him is he ain't got no dog or enough dog. I
What,
think that's
personally?
yeah. Well,
I think that's a myth.
well,
I don't
it
know what
could
people are
be.
expecting to see
That's
from him,
that's
but
what they say around the campfire. That's what they say around the campfire.
he's a
You know,
competitor. He's a
yeah.
competitor. He is.
Hmm.
I don't know what people are wanting to see from him. I like the people who say that. I'm just like, what is it that you're wanting to see him do? Like,
I think for me, it's the moments. It's not so much the like got no dog in them. For me,
But
it's the
hold on,
moments.
Trey. But moments define dog. How you perform in moments
Not
define
okay,
necessarily.
so give me an
Not,
example of somebody who you think is a dog that has something
at
like, especially
quarterback.
a quarterback that you think is a
Matt
dog that has
Stafford.
something
Matt
that
Stafford
Dak
is a
doesn't
dog
have.
at quarterback. Matt Stafford is a dog at quarterback.
And what do you think is it that makes him a dog that Dak Prescott doesn't do?
Um, specifically, and I'm just thinking about week one against Detroit. Those types of drives, that fourth quarter drive, and I know I get they lost at the end, but that drive that he put together to get them in position to win, I don't know that, and I'm not gonna sit here and say Dak has never done that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that those types of moments don't shine bright in playoff moments for Dak Prescott.
So you want to see something like that specifically happen in the playoffs to consider Dak Prescott a dog?
Um, yes,
Okay.
yeah, I
Well,
think
in that case, we'll just have to wait till the playoffs to see it
yeah,
because he's done it in the regular season.
obviously,
He's done it several
obviously,
times. So it's like if you just want
obviously,
to see him be able to do that, like Dak is known for his 2 minutes. So like he's got that. Like he's made game winning drives.
yeah,
He can do it whenever called
mhm.
upon. But if you want to see him do it during the playoffs, all right, we'll talk in January.
it's the
Yeah,
moments.
right.
It goes back to the moments,
Yeah,
though.
because
It
we
goes
talk about
back to the
because we're
moments.
talking
Yeah.
about because we're talking about and I guess let me be more specific about like I like to call it when shit hits the fan, like when it's
Hmm.
real, like like it's um a regular season win is a regular season win, and obviously you want to stack as many regular season wins as you can in the regular season. Um, in a situation where in a single elimination, like a lot like what you talked about, that we look at, I think, and I'm not. This is not me personally saying it, that this is my only opinion of them, but uh, we want to see that moment where 4 points down, 2 minutes and 30 seconds. one time out, get us out of this game, get us out of this playoff game with a win. And I think that's a lot of and then a lot of first round exits. I don't think I think that's a lot of what his critique comes from too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that
the
is where a lot of his critique comes from. But like honestly, I think judging a quarterback on first round exits from the playoffs is kind of bullshit, in my opinion.
Mm,
Because I'm just like,
okay.
you've got quarterbacks who are considered to be great who haven't done that much better in the playoffs. But people
Yeah.
like to pick on Dak for some reason. I'm just like, yes, he went to the playoffs and he lost. It happens. He'll get there. Like
yeah.
I feel like that puts just way too much weight on the playoff games he had. Like, are those exits disappointing? Absolutely. Do we want to see him
Hmm.
do better? Absolutely. But is that a reason to be like, oh, he's actually not that great of a quarterback? He's actually not a dog. Like, no, he had some bad moments, and they came at really bad times, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Embarrassing moments like the
Do,
two
Yes.
playoff games
do you
against the
think?
49ers. Like though the endings of those two playoffs. Like everybody remembers him running, in the middle of the field to get the first down and try to spike the ball to stop the clock and eventually they ran out of
Yeah.
time, game over. And then the
It
second
it
time they
was a
faced the
chaotic moment.
49ers at the end, yeah, it got very chaotic. And I think people remember those moments and they attach it to Dak Prescott.
Yeah, they do. But that's the thing about fans. That's the thing about sports.
Mhm. About
Like
sports.
sports
Hmm.
brings out emotion in people. And when there's emotions involved, people are more likely to remember what happened.
Right.
So they're going to attach those moments to Dak because he was the person on the field and responsible in those moments, but they're not going to think about what the defense did or didn't do. They're not going to think about the passes that were dropped. They're not going to think about the tackles that were missed that stifled the run game. They're not
Hmm.
going to think about the times when they needed the defense to get a three and out and get the opposing offense off the field and they didn't. They're going to
Mhm.
go to that one moment and act like everything that happened in the game boiled down to what Dak Prescott did in that moment. And that's why I say it's not fair. I'm like, yes,
Hmm.
he has disappointed fans at moments. He absolutely has. I'm not going to deny that. But he's also shown the fans a lot of greatness. He's also shown a lot of leadership. He has also been the reason that the Cowboys have even won enough games to make it to the playoffs in the
To
first
the
place.
playoffs.
I'm
Right.
just like,
Right.
are y'all watching the Titans? Y'all see Will Levis?
Hmm.
Is that what y'all want? Like
Hmm.
when y'all were like, we should get another quarterback. Like that's what y'all want. Like I mean, come on.
I got one more. I got one more question to Dak, and I get off of Dak's coattails.
Pause.
I was trying.
Pause.
Yeah, thank you. You saw
Pause.
half
Pause.
it.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
That's
Um,
crazy.
do you think the pressure comes from or comes because of him being a Dallas Cowboy?
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah, so
absolutely.
like stakes are high. Like it's not like a small. I'm trying to think of a small town football team with a good quarterback. Matthew Stafford
Buffalo.
when he was in
Buffalo.
Buffalo.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's not the same thing where Josh Allen, for all intents and purposes, based on who they believe him to be in the league, ranked as a quarterback, has been a disappointment because he hasn't won a Super Bowl yet. That's what people say. But they don't shit on him half as much as they shit on a Dak Prescott, and Dak Prescott didn't have the same quote unquote superlatives coming into the league, like a fourth round pick, and nobody
Right.
really
Hmm.
saw Dak coming. But people saw Josh Allen coming, but it seems like Dak Prescott gets more angst and more criticism than Josh Allen, and maybe part of it is because Josh Allen did actually make it to an AFC Championship, but there was a time where they was. I think that is coming from him being in Dallas is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's a topic that they've actually discussed on national media, which when it comes to comparing one franchise to another, I do refer to national media for that because they're usually the ones who cover all the teams or who should cover all the
Yeah.
teams, right? And there were several like very well-known celebrities on ESPN admitting that yeah, a big part of the reason why they put so much pressure on Dak is because they are obligated to talk about him for their numbers. I'll even give you
Hmm.
an example. When Twitter started monetizing accounts, right? At the time, I had a social media content curator that I don't have anymore. but we were basically trying to see what we would need to do in order to monetize. Because like I got a good number of followers, but like at the time it was even less, and it wasn't enough to where the way I normally tweet to get enough traffic for Twitter to qualify me for monetization, right?
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
so we started posting different types of content, and it's like I could say anything with Dak Prescott, even if it's something that to me was boring or stupid to bring up, but it just did crazy numbers. So they
Yeah.
would like go up, and then I'd start talking about other stuff, gymnastics, WNBA, tennis, whatever. Numbers go down, 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 down. It's like, okay, we
Mm-hmm.
got to get the
Mm-hmm.
numbers back up. So then we post something else about Dak Prescott. Averages would go way up. And it literally got to the point where I'll never forget. I sent my curator a message, and I was like, I am so sick of talking about Dak Prescott. It
Right.
got to that point, but that's what I had to do to keep the numbers up. Now I don't do that anymore. I think we ran that experiment for like 6 weeks and ended it. But it's essentially what national media continues to do, especially this time of year, where they're just like, all right, we need these ratings, we need these sponsorship dollars. So we are going to talk about Dak Prescott. And I think it inflates like anything that he does, good or bad. It makes the
Yeah.
highs seem way higher and the lows seem way lower.
Yeah. I think two things could be true at the same time. It could be because he's a Cowboy where Dak gets more the criticism than somebody like a Josh Allen would. And at the same time, when you look at Josh Allen and you look at the criticism, that dude's lost to Patrick Mahomes 3 times
Mm-hmm.
in his career in the playoffs. I mean, you're talking about one of the greatest quarterbacks, the best quarterback in the game right now. Um, there's no shame in losing to that guy, but if you're Josh Allen, at some point you got to get over that hump. I mean, when we look at Josh Allen losses, we think about the 13 seconds Patrick Mahomes took to go down the field. We think
Yep.
about
Yep.
the missed field goal in Buffalo last, postseason. We think about those things. We don't think about anything that's embarrassing when it comes to Buffalo losses versus Dallas losses. There's a lot of
Right.
embarrassing moments with Dallas
Like
losses,
Zeke
it
at
seems like.
center, hiking the ball with nobody on the offensive line.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, what
Dak
they
didn't
that
do
for? Yeah, what they that for? So Cowboys versus the Ravens this weekend. Um, what are your thoughts? How you feeling? Are they coming out with a victory?
um, I do think the Cowboys have what it takes to win this game. It's a
Yeah.
very interesting matchup. A lot of people have been talking about the fact that the Ravens need to win this game. I'm like, the
Yeah.
Cowboys need to win it too.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I
the
don't
the
know if you
Cowboys have
noticed,
came in.
Jazz, but I got the purple lights going on
Oh, I
in
know
the
this.
background. So, I look, I gotta dig deep. I gotta find something that the Ravens can take from what the Saints did to the Cowboys and see what they could do there. But
Yeah,
yeah,
Lamar ain't throwing it like that.
I mean,
you
I
said
think you're
what?
gonna have a hard time,
Lamar ain't
especially
throwing it
with.
like that, bro.
I
I'm just talking
I
about
don't
that
even think
game.
that Lamar is the biggest issue. Is he going to be an issue? Yeah, absolutely. But I feel like the inconsistency on the Ravens offensive line is going to be a weak point that's going to get
Yeah,
attacked.
yeah,
Especially
Hmm.
now that, like I said earlier, we do have two players. So it's like we don't have to take Micah and make him the spy on Lamar. We can put Overshown like watching Lamar and then have Micah take it to number 77. I don't know how to pronounce his last name and I don't want to get it wrong. But I was
Hmm.
watching film of him earlier and I'm like, I don't know how Lamar ain't cussed him out yet. And maybe he has. But that dude that dude acts like he hates Lamar Jackson. I'm just like, can you
Mm.
protect this man, please? So
Yeah.
I can really see them kind of bullying him a little bit because he's kind of shown a propensity to let pressure get to Lamar. So I feel like if I had to pick one thing that's going to end up being a weak point, I feel like that offensive line is going to be it, especially the right side.
Mm.
I hope Derrick Henry takes this game personal because
Why would he do
allegedly he was supposed to be a cowboy.
that? Did he
He
want to be a cowboy? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't
I
know if he
I
wants to
heard those
be,
rumors too.
but
Yeah, I
I've
But
heard
you
the
know what?
heard
rumors
I,
that.
I
that
don't
he
blame you
might
for
have
hoping
said
he takes it
something to
personally.
somebody.
Yeah,
Derrick Henry might have said something to somebody on a Dallas in a Dallas uh what do you call it, paraphernalia or something at a game or somewhere. I
hmm
don't know. I like to spread rumors that may or may not be true, but I have heard that he has had conversations with Dallas personnel or players or whoever saying, "Hey man, I wouldn't mind playing in Dallas." I did hear that last year for certain. I don't know how true or false it is, but I know I heard
Well, I'm sorry that that didn't work out, and he like
it.
I can I can understand you want him to take it personally. If I were rooting for the Ravens, I would want that as well. But yeah, he when it comes to weaknesses on the Cowboy side, that is something that I could see being an issue unless they really get it together when it comes to defending against the run.
They got
What
to
we
run
did
though.
on
The Ravens got to
Sunday,
run. They keep saying they
yeah,
want to run, but they acting like they don't. They acting like they want Lamar to run and not have like a complete running game. Because what the hell you get Derrick Henry for? You know what I'm saying? Like the game last week against the Raiders. That's a game where the last 10 minutes, Derrick Henry, you get that man, 6, 7 carries to close that game out. They gave that man 1 carry in the last 10 minutes of that game. So I don't know what the hell you brought him over here for
let's
if you
see,
just
Derrick
gonna
Henry 31 attempts on the season.
on the
See,
season, yes.
that sounds crazy.
On the season. That
I
Yeah, I would
mean,
expect that number to be higher.
yeah,
It could
but
be lower.
15, yeah, 15. I mean, average. I know he got 13 the first game, and I do the
about
math on
17 to 18 the second
17.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a runner like Derrick Henry, a lot of people are wanting to see that, 20 to 25 carries per
Mm-hmm.
game number. That's what people are wanting to see.
Right.
But you're right. Looking at these numbers, and hold on, let me expand this.
And I'll and
I'm
I'll
I'm
say
I'm
this
not one of
too.
those people who memorize this stat, so go
Right.
ahead.
Oh, we
And
make him up as we go. So
yeah, yeah. If I see something, I'll remember it. I'll say it. If not, I'll just make something up. But for me though, and the numbers are good. He looked better this week than he did the first week. It's
Mhm.
again, it's about the moments. It's about okay, it's the last
when
10,
when it's
12
happening.
minutes of the game. You got a 10
hmm
point lead. You know the Raiders don't want no smoke with Derrick Henry. You know this, and you only get a man 1 carry in the last 10 minutes of the game.
Has anybody on your staff been asked why that's not happening?
No,
Because I know our coaches got drilled about why we didn't use Overshown more on
see and
Sunday.
see and
So
see this is the thing because I live in the Baltimore area, so I listen to quite a bit of sports talk. I listen to some Ravens
right.
podcasts here and there, and there appears to be a thing with local media kind of worrying about their credentials being taken away from them because of
Mm.
asking the tough questions. That's just
Really?
something that
That'd be weird.
yeah, right. Like that's something that appears to be a thing according to people that I've spoken to and listened to around town. Um I'm not sure if there's any truth to that, but if there is, then it could explain why. And look, I'm not a guy that pretends to be tuned into John Harbaugh's presses every week, but I do see clips, and when I hear the questions, it's like y'all asking the same as soft questions. Like I want to
Hmm.
know why you started this offensive lineman versus that guy. Like I need
Right.
you to answer for you know, the offensive
Why
line.
Derrick Henry only got 1 carry
So
in 10
I
minutes?
need you to
I'll
right.
I'll,
I
I'll
need
say
you to
this,
ask these
and I
questions.
haven't watched as much film on the Ravens as I would have liked to at this point. It's only Tuesday,
Yep.
but just putting different pieces together and based on what I've heard from other like staff members of other teams and other players, if you've got an inconsistent offensive line, I can see how it'd be hard to get any rhythm in the run game. And so that could be an issue where maybe Lamar doesn't even trust his offensive line enough to call run plays because somebody's got to handle those blocking assignments, right? And
hmm
so if he
Yep.
doesn't think that they'll handle it properly, or if it's something that Derrick Henry has complained about, maybe they've had to go a different direction. That is 100% speculation. I don't want anybody clipping that and putting it out there like Lamar doesn't trust his own like this is speculation based on what I've read and a few things that I have seen. But I think that could be a possibility because like I said, 31 attempts on the season, not terrible, but I do think like people would like to see at least, 40, 45 at this point.
Right,
Yes.
right.
And
I'm
then
Yeah.
and
thinking
then like you
20
said,
carries, 20
it's
plus per game
yeah.
is what I'm
And then
looking
like
at.
you said, the moments are a big deal because the moments can make a big difference because it's like if you eat like people are making a big deal about the Ravens being 0-2, right? I feel like I'm a Ravens content creator now. But like people are making a big deal about the Ravens being 0-2.
And it's
But
purple in your
each game
background magically.
this is a background that I use. Like when the Cowboys lose, I don't use the true blue, but I like the color purple. So like it's
Mm-hmm.
just a coincidence.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to change it back to blue tomorrow. I cannot go
AFC.
into
Hey,
Ravens
the
weekend.
Ravens could be an AFC team. You can have an AFC and an NFC team. It's okay.
Don't start that bullshit. Don't you start that shit.
But yeah, so like the Ravens are 0-2, but each game has been lost by a possession or less. So that literally means that a moment here, a moment there could make a difference. Because when we're talking about 3 points, 7 points, you're not talking about a whole game of fuck ups. You're talking
Yeah.
about a series here, a possession there, a couple of plays, part of a
Mhm.
drive can make a difference in that.
Yeah.
You get all the way into the end zone versus a field goal, and all of a sudden one of those games is different. You like get all the way down to the end zone instead of, throwing an interception, which you can't throw an interception if you're running the ball, then all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden, these games are different. So yeah, I can definitely understand fans' frustration with being like, yo, these are the moments we'd like to see Derrick Henry, and we feel like these moments could make a big difference in how this whole season plays out because you have a statistical point to make to support that that could very well be true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll,
So
I'll
I
I'll
ain't
say
gonna hold
this.
you.
I'll say
Go
this
ahead.
though. If there's one thing I had to worry about against the Cowboys this week, me and Maestro, we talked about this guy early on. Marlon Humphrey, I don't know what's
Mm-hmm.
going on with him, but he's been
You know
getting
what's
cooked
going
by
on
these
with him?
number one. He's been getting cooked by these number ones lately. And
CD is
CD
one of the
Lamb,
best.
CD Lamb, man, they got to find a way. All I'm gonna say is they got to find a
I
way.
think Marlon Humphrey is going to be barbecue chicken this weekend. And I don't think it's going in y'all favor off of that alone. I don't think they're gonna be able to do
Hold
nothing
on, I
with
want to
that
pull up
dude.
some of y'all's defensive plays now. I'm like, what did he
I
do?
don't think he gonna want no CD Lamb smoke. And unless you fit telling me that that rookie y'all got from Clemson is gonna be able to hold it down.
Yeah, Wiggins, he got in a car accident. So
Oh,
I'm not even.
that's right.
Yeah, so I'm
That's
not even sure he
right.
going. I'm not sure he gonna play or not. Prayer to the
Yeah, yeah,
homie, but
for sure,
um,
for sure.
but yeah, I'm not sure he gonna play.
Barbecue or well, alternate Wiggins. Hey, Marlon Humphrey. Hey, Trippy gonna be yelling at him again.
the
Barbecue chicken.
only,
That's
the only,
barbecue chicken.
the only hope, because I've watched some of CD's game. Like they like to put him in the slot, several different
Mm-hmm.
times to get that right matchup. So
He
I'm
can
not
line up from
sure.
anywhere.
Right, he can line up for anywhere. I don't know that necessarily means Marlon's going to be following him everywhere, but I don't think he's going to follow him in the slot because Marlon, that's just not his. That's just not his
Yeah.
game to be in the slot. So,
Well,
um,
I'll be honest with you, if Marlon Humphrey, but y'all consider Marlon Humphrey y'all best cornerback. So if Marlon
right,
Humphrey, so if he your best cornerback, all right, just move him off of Marlon Humphreys. And if he already barbecue chicken with Marlon Humphreys, then them
yeah,
other niggas definitely gonna be barbecue chicken. So
yeah.
the way
Kyle,
I'm
Kyle
seeing it,
Hamilton is my only hope. Kyle,
and he not gonna be able to guard. He not gonna be able to see him in the slot. I'm telling you that right now. Cal Hamilton is not gonna be able to see CD Lamb in the slot.
I mean,
If they
something else
move
to
him,
consider is the fact that while CeeDee Lamb gets a lot of attention, and people talk about the fact that Brandon Cooks is not a qualified number two,
mm,
Brandon Cooks can make plays.
yeah,
And
for
then
sure,
we've
for
got a
sure.
rookie that a lot of people are wanting to see get playing time. That I might be going out on a limb here, but he's got a really aggressive playing style that I just feel like if they give him a shot, he could surprise a lot of people too. So while there may not be like this definitive number two that people point to as a threat, the rest of the receiver room, like they're not terrible. They're not terrible.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
definitely
I agree.
yeah.
players to pay attention to.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, as a Ravens fan, defensively, I think our defense is playing okay in certain moments. I think the pass rush has picked up a little bit, but there still seems to be something wrong in terms of the play calling on the defense. We got a new defensive coordinator in Zach Orr. He used to be a former Raven as a player. The Ravens like to do this. They like to promote from within. I don't think they've gotten anybody outside of the organization to run defense pretty much since its inception. So, they kind of like to, keep things in house and things like
They seem
that.
to really value the culture of the Ravens defense and
Yes.
Yeah,
perpetuating that, which,
Yes.
I mean,
and they
respect for
should.
that, but you do want
Yeah.
to make sure that whoever you get is capable of installing the right things.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure. No question. No question. Shout out to Kevin Gray. That's our buddy right there.
what up? What
Uh
up?
Kevin
Shout out to the homie. We know Kevin from what, like 8-9 years ago when we first started this
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, man.
Gray!
That's
KG, good
that's
to
the
see you.
home.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, man. So yeah, I ain't gonna hold you. I got the Cowboys winning.
Of
I know
course you
I'm
do.
jumping. The
Of course you
I,
do.
I'm looking forward to that 0-3. I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, so I'm definitely looking forward to that 0-3.
Of course you
Um,
do.
hey, but it's not. It is really based on the idea that I don't know how y'all covering CD Lamb. Like I think he about to have a monster game.
Well, and then on the other side, Zay Flowers, while he's not the greatest receiver, Zay Flowers can find them creases. He can find, open spots in the
He
field and,
can.
have his way, with some of the Dallas DBs. So Dallas is going to have to worry about that, in addition to Derrick Henry if they ever, get him in rhythm.
How
I
you see
would
this
say
going, man?
in terms of some of the ways that we've seen the DBs slip up on the Cowboys side, I would say a lot of the things they've struggled with are very duplicable by Zay Flowers. So that's
Mm,
one of those things where it's like when we talk about the league being a copycat league and people looking at what worked against the Cowboys,
Mm-hmm.
I could definitely see that being an issue depending on how they decide to use Flowers. And I haven't watched that much of the Ravens to like know exactly what the scheme is and things of that nature. But, just understanding what Zay Flowers is capable of, I could see him causing a little bit of trouble. Um, but I do think also one of the things that we know about the Cowboys is that they have a tendency to just come back with a vengeance after a loss. They usually,
Mm-hmm.
I can't really remember the last time they lost 2 games in a row. I want to say that it might have happened last season, but before that it was like a really long time.
Yeah.
But
mm,
either way, whenever I think about what it feels like went wrong this past Sunday, especially on the defensive side of the ball, I feel like those things are very fixable, and I think that's going to be the big point of emphasis for the Cowboys. It's not like there's one particular player that's particularly weak or something that they're just not good at. It really just looks like a lot of miscues and a lot of missteps and things that they really need to clean up, to where if they can continue the work that they did last week to prepare for the Saints and continue that to get even better and prepare for the Ravens, I don't think they'll have a whole lot of trouble. So unfortunately, I do see them winning, and I say unfortunately because I got a lot of love for Lamar Jackson, and I can only imagine what the narrative is going to be if the Ravens start 0-3. But that's
Oh,
for
they
them
want
to
the
worry
coach out
about.
of here. They want the coach up out of there. Like
mm.
you should see the discourse on Twitter. They want
Ugh,
Harbaugh's ass up out of there. They just tired of it. I
that's
mean,
ugly.
and me personally, I'll be honest. I'm a little tired of it also. Um, his seat has to get hot if they lose on Sunday. It has to get hot
Okay, that's fair.
at this
I see
point.
the fair.
Yeah.
Firing him is a little
Well, yeah, no, you're not
overdoing
going to
it.
fire
Yeah,
him in the middle of the season, especially after week 3. You're not going to do that. You're going to
yeah.
let him ride it out, and then if it's time to part ways, then it's time to go. But
What
the
about
folks
0
in
and
the
5?
area, what's that? Oh and
What about 0
5.
and 5?
Still, I think what we've seen with the organization, I think they're just going to hold on to him until
Oh,
season's end.
which
I think they're
which
going to do
is
the right thing.
that's the rational, logical thing to do. I feel like anywhere.
They did it
Like
with
this,
Billick. Remember,
yeah,
they did it with Billick. They started 4-2, and then they had to slide. They ended up 5-11, and they just let him go at the end of the year. So I wouldn't expect any different. But that
mhm,
seat, if we lose Sunday, that seat had better be hot for him.
yeah, for sure,
For
for
sure.
sure.
Hey, Jazz, I got one last thing for you.
Sure.
So you write for the InsideTheStar.com. So I'm always interested with these kinds of situations where you cover the team that you root for. So take me into that. Like you obviously you have to have some objectivity when
Yeah.
you're, writing about the Cowboys and reporting on them and things like that. But have you ever caught yourself in the middle of maybe writing a piece or a blog or, covering something where, the fan in you just kind of came out? Like, tell me about that.
Oh, absolutely. Um, so it's one of the things that I've kind of learned to embrace. Like I support fangirling. I think fangirling gets a really bad rap. A lot of people think that you can't be objective or that it's hard for you to have good analysis if you're also a fangirl. And I hate that because like all the fangirls out there feel like they're not qualified to talk about the sport or enjoy it in the same way other people do. But I think it's one of those things that it's actually better if you embrace it because it's like if you try to deny it, then it kind of makes you like want to ignore it when it creeps up. But if
Yeah.
you are just like 100% like, yeah, I'm a fangirl, I know I'm a fangirl, I know I have favorite players. For me, at least, it becomes a lot easier for me to acknowledge it when I'm reporting on it. And instead of letting it kind of color what I'm writing, I'm either able to push it to the side and be like, okay, I know why I'm looking for this particular angle, or in some cases, I use it. So, like, there are pieces that I've written on CD Lamb, but part of the reason why I went into so much detail was because I'm like, I don't like the way people are talking about him right now, and I want to defend him because, like,
Mhm.
everybody is on his nuts right now. Oh, he's one of the greatest receivers, yada, yada, yada. But it's like they forget a couple seasons ago where he had a bad start to the season, and people were literally talking about stripping him of the 88, saying he didn't deserve it. And so it's
Hmm.
Mm.
moments like that where I'm just like, no, he's actually been kicking ass at his job and improving since he's been a rookie, and let me tell you why. And so, me being such a passionate fan of his is one of the things that allows me to sit down and take that kind of care with my work. I've done the same thing in writing articles where I defended Dak Prescott. I think the important thing is to not just be like, y'all are wrong because y'all are stupid and CD's the best. I took the time to put research into that. So,
Yeah.
like, yeah, a person could be like, well, she's only saying this because she's a fan of CD. Yeah, but like the stats are what the stats are, and the film is what the
Yeah.
film is. Look at the stats and look at the film, and then come back and tell me where I'm wrong. You can't.
Right.
So that's the thing that you always have to be able to do. Or even like, I've become a big Tyler Guyton fan, and so there was part of me that like didn't want to acknowledge the struggles that he's been having as a left tackle, but I kind of had to put that in check and be like, yo, you can care about a person and still tell the truth about like what they're doing. And so like I went on Girls Talk, Boys Talk, and I was like, yeah, I really want to see him improve XYZ. And then the next day in the locker room, I went to him and I was like, hey, I talked about you yesterday. Don't be mad. And he wasn't,
Hmm.
right? But but it's just like little moments like that to where I'm just like, okay, you acknowledge it, but then you still do your job because I also have a responsibility to fans and to viewers. And then you just figure out how to, like, ethics are really important. You figure out how to handle your job ethically, and that ends up being the guiding force to where no
Hmm.
matter who you're a fan of, who you think is cute, who you think is funny, who you just like watching play, who you don't like, at the end of the day, you have a code of ethics that you're expected to stick to as a journalist, as somebody providing information on this sport. And so it's like if you let that guide you, then you can figure out a way to write anything. Another article I did, I'm gonna tell this one story and then I'm gonna let it go. But like it was when the Cowboys, there was like rumors that they might take OBJ. And I ended up writing about like the potential of CeeDee Lamb and OBJ being in the locker room together. And I started writing and I was like, man, they're both so cute, And instead of being like, yeah, they're both good looking receivers, I actually Googled and I found that they had both been included on lists of like hottest NFL players. So I didn't
Hmm.
even have to express that from my perspective. I was like, here are the things they have in common. I was like, this statistic, that statistic, this part of their career is the same. Also, they've both been included on these lists of the most attractive NFL players. And I didn't even have to put my own opinion. I'm like, yeah, these are fans who are polled. They said that. I might
Right.
agree, but like I didn't need to like put my personal feelings into that in order to mention something that I wanted to mention and that I thought was true. So once again, ethics won out, and that is the most important thing, in my opinion.
That's what's up. That's
All
what's
right.
up.
No doubt. No doubt.
Top five Dallas Cowboys.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Hilarious.
Let's time out. So this is where I come in and I gotta take one for the team. This is my fault because I was supposed to tell you, Maestro, that she did not want to do the top five
Oh, okay.
topic.
I
I
didn't know
Yeah,
messaged him and I was like, yeah, I'm not the person to ask.
that. Okay.
I'm a
yeah. So
relatively young Cowboys fan, and while I could list some Cowboys from the past who I like, I'm like the last thing because here's what would happen if the list wasn't right according to fan standards. Is like I would be like, hey, watch this podcast that I did with these guys. It's awesome. And somebody would get to the end and be like, can you believe this is who she listed in the top five? This is the dumbest top five I've ever heard. And I'm like, no, I'm not dealing with it. I know that's not my expertise, and it's fine. It's fine.
Hey, respect,
hey, I'm good with
respect,
it. I'm good with it. Just know that it would have been your list. It would have been your list and nobody else's.
and and two, if you had done it, you could have at me, and I fight all of them.
Yeah,
Fight all of them
we'll
online.
take on the smoke.
We'll fight
We'll
all
take
of
the
them
smoke
online.
on.
I'll name a few from the past who I like. Terrell Owens is one of my favorites.
Okay.
Who else do I like from the past? I have a lot of respect for Troy Aikman, just because not only of what he did as a quarterback, but like he's played a big role in some of the more what's the word I'm looking for, philanthropic endeavors
Hmm.
by the Cowboys and within the community. So he's done a lot. I definitely have a lot of respect for him. And then yeah, Dak and CD are always going to be a couple of my favorites. And Michael Irvin, dude, is a character.
Yeah.
Like he just
Yeah.
opened a little sports bar out here, and
Oh yeah.
it's a vibe. I'll put it that way. It's a vibe.
That's what's
So
up.
that's not a top five, but those are Cowboys that I like.
Cowboys, you like this? Hey,
Cowboys
that's
that she
okay.
likes. That's
I
cool.
mean, to be honest with you, a lot of times when we do these top five lists on our show, it does really end up being a lot of times the guest favorite players, and at a time like a lot of times
Exactly.
I mean, because obviously some of the players like Michael Irvin, like he's on everybody's list, but then you get
Right.
an opportunity to say somebody that nobody thought of or we didn't see coming, or just somebody like I there was a thing this time last year where everybody like I had people at my 9 to 5 would come and be like, "Hey, you ain't put Art Monk in a Redskin top five list?" Like, and it'll become a whole discussion. I'm like, and I gotta tell people, "Hey, give me your at name so I could tell them people, direct them people to you. We won't do that to you because I told you I'll fight whoever, but we won't not doing that to you." But it's always interesting that I don't, me personally, I don't like my top five. I say top five, but I really do mean my favorite five.
Yeah,
I
I think
really
that's
do
the
mean
case
my
for a lot
favorite.
of people. At the
It
end of
could
the
be your
Yeah,
day, a
favorites.
lot of
Yeah.
these lists, they're just conversation starters. Like people don't even tell you what the list is based off on. They'll be
right,
like top 10 running backs, and I'm like, based on what? Are
right,
you talking about
Right.
like their versatility? Are you talking about their power? Are you talking about their
yeah,
elusiveness? Like, and they don't tell you. They're just like, yep, this is top 10 running backs.
right.
Okay,
And
cool,
more
Just to
bye.
me,
importantly, too, the favorites most likely mean that you've watched these guys play. Because
Hopefully,
yeah,
when I think about top five lists, I always try to think about the athletes that I saw play, whether as a kid, teenager, or as an adult. I don't be like if somebody
because it's
asks me
kind
my
of fake.
what's that?
Because it's kind of fake, right? To sit
It's
here and
fake,
say
right? Like if somebody asks
I
me,
know that as quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I ain't never watched him play a down.
right, that's what I'm saying. It's like somebody asking me who's my top five Yankees, and I say Babe Ruth. Like I ain't wasn't old enough to see Babe Ruth play. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. So that when the list is authentic, when you get people to base it off of who they've watched play, their favorites, then that list will be a real authentic list. So, your favorite
And that's a better
Cowboys,
debate.
that's
And that's a
authentic.
better debate. And that's a way better debate anyway.
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm here
No,
for it.
no question. No question. Hey Jazz, this was fun. We definitely
absolutely.
appreciate you coming on here. Let everybody know where they can find you at, what you got coming up, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was a great conversation. You can find all my links. Actually, I think there might be something wrong with the website, but if it doesn't work right now, it should work within the next couple days. But bitcheslovesports.com, spelled exactly how it sounds. Or if you prefer not to type bitches, you can go to blspodcast.com, but it will take you to a page that says Bitches Love Sports at the top. So just know that. Also on Twitter, the @ that I have right here is my Twitter. I do talk a lot of Cowboys, but I also talk a lot about other aspects of sports. I've been talking a lot about Colorado. Today I've been talking about Diddy. So, like, yeah, come have a conversation with me. It's one of my favorite things to do. Oh, and then on YouTube. I don't put my stuff on Spotify as much as I used to or as much as I should. Sorry, I'm failing. But I go live randomly on YouTube. I say randomly because I do have a full-time job. So I just do it when I have
Yeah,
the energy to do it, when I have time. But yeah,
Yep.
find me on YouTube, and that's where most of my content is.
All
that's
right.
what's up. That's
No
what's up,
doubt. No
James. We
doubt.
appreciate you, and we will see you in them internet streets, as we like to call it.
Absolutely. Y'all have a good night.
All right. You do the same. Appreciate it. Appreciate you. Some dope stuff. Dope stuff from her, folks. Yeah,
I ain't gonna
support.
hold you, bro. You see me keep switching out my AirPods because these ones about to die.
Yeah. I hear you kind of coming in and out, and I it also seemed like you was in a delay early on in the interview too. So,
I felt like you was in a delay, so I don't know who it was,
oh,
and I feel like
oh,
she was in a delay.
oh,
So
wow. Okay,
she went
yeah.
she went
I
out at
didn't
one
I
point.
didn't feel like she was in a delay. I felt like it was
She
you, at least from
really
my
maybe
point.
it was me. Maybe it was me, but she went out. Her screen went out for 2 seconds and
I
came back
saw
in.
that. I did see
Yeah,
that. I did see that. I think she might have hit
but
something by mistake, but
we got through it.
oh yeah. Nah,
um,
I knew we was gonna get through it. So
I about to say I did want I wanted to hurry up and get these picks in because I don't know how long I'm gonna have to keep swapping in and out. I don't know how many quick hits you got, but I'm sure it's quick.
yeah, some quick hits for me. Tua, they announced they're gonna put him on IR after
Yeah.
his fourth or fifth concussion from Thursday night's game. I don't have any quick really thoughts about it. Other than
Of
you
course,
know,
they would put him on IR. They got to sit him down for getting a
right,
concussion. That's
right.
right.
I
I
would
mean, we
just
can
say
get
get
into the
well.
whole. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
would just say get well, and they picked up somebody. Oh, Tyler Huntley.
Sally Huntley, yeah,
They
which
picked
ain't
up
gonna help them at
as
all. Which, by the way,
no,
that ain't gonna help them at all.
not at all. But they did mention Ryan Tannehill as a possibility. They mentioned some other guys. But as far as I'm concerned, Miami season is in
Dundo.
flux at the moment. You
Uh,
think it's done? Okay,
I
okay.
mean, nah,
I got him as a playoff team.
because if
So
he comes back, because like we don't know, they gonna keep him out for 4 weeks. I believe is what they have to keep him out on IR. They have to keep him out for 4 weeks.
yeah, so about week 7, week 8, somewhere around there.
I don't know what their schedule is, but I seen them on the field without him, and it looked
Hmm.
a little crazy.
Yeah, Skylar ain't
Um,
looking too tough.
yeah,
Not
so
looking too
I ain't
tough
gonna
at
say it's
all.
done so yet, but it ain't looking good.
Yeah, no, not at all, not at all. Justin Jefferson has a quad injury after coming off of the great performance against the 49ers.
Yeah.
One of the bigger upsets this weekend. The
Hmm.
Vikings getting the win
Yeah.
there. They're 2-0. Sam Darnold looks sufficient. Um, I still don't believe in the Vikings. After
Nah.
seeing them between two different teams, they play two different teams, but I
Mm.
there's still something with the Vikings, and maybe it's the injuries, and maybe it's what they're missing already that kind of has me a little hesitant. And look, the 49ers, I mean, that's a great system they run offensively, but it catches up with you at some point when you don't have your horses. So, um,
Mhm.
big win for Minnesota nonetheless there.
He
So
will
shout
soon,
out
Justin
to them.
Jefferson.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Another upset, Buccaneers over the Lions. Um, thought that was a big win
Baker
for
Mayfield cooking.
Detroit.
Yeah, for sure. Baker Mayfield cooking.
He is definitely. That division, that NFC South, that division, all of a
And the
sudden,
Buccaneers. Yeah, because I
all of
don't
a
believe
sudden
like
getting
I don't even
interesting.
know. I know they just beat the Eagles last night, but they ain't look like this. They don't look like the Saints or the Bucks right now.
They still don't look like offensively, and I'm just talking offensively for Atlanta, they don't look like, they about to explode right now, like in terms of the points.
I saw my man Tev on Twitter today
Yeah.
with the guy covered that Panthers logo up.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, go ahead and send. I saw this rumor on Twitter today too. Go ahead and send Deontay back to Pittsburgh. We get y'all seventh, man.
I didn't
See
see
y'all
that.
seventh, man.
I ain't see
I
that,
saw I
but
saw I saw the rumor. I saw a rumor that they was trying to they might be
mm,
putting Deontay Johnson on the trading block, which is crazy after 2 weeks. But if
after
that's
two
true,
weeks, that's yeah, that's
go
crazy.
on to them back to Pittsburgh. Go on to them back to Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
Bryce Young got benched for Andy Dalton. All you
mm,
doing is pissing Bryce Young off because Andy Dalton is going to probably look worse than Bryce Young. And look, if you're willing to do that to Bryce Young after a season and 2 games,
mm-hmm.
um,
I'd ask
you
for a
might as well
trade,
go.
and I know there's probably
Yeah,
not leverage there with
and I
Bryce
yeah,
Young,
and
but
yeah,
I
yeah,
try to get up out of there if I'm him. I
yeah. I
mean,
try to
that's
get
a
about that.
that whole place is a fire
It's a shit
hazard,
show.
man. It's a yeah, everything about it. From I saw the timeline earlier. Folks wanted to keep Steve Wilkes when he was the interim. He didn't do that. Tepper didn't do that. Bring in Frank Reich, fired him after 10, 11 games, and now you're bringing in this dude from Tampa, Canales,
Mm-hmm.
and he looked like he don't know what he's doing.
Yeah, but it's not even like they got a team around them. I mean, Bryce Young looks confused.
Mm,
Um, Look, I literally yesterday watched a 16-minute video of the things that he did wrong against the Chargers Sunday,
mm-hmm.
and I will agree that he did some things wrong. Like he's culpable for the Panthers, being some shit right now. He's definitely
Yeah,
played his part.
yeah, yeah,
But to sit here and and bench him um, after 2 weeks for Andy Dalton, where Andy Dalton is gonna come in and look like some shit. You don't know it, I guess but it's too early. I get
yeah,
that he's been historically bad. It's just too early to bench Bryce Young, especially when you know what Andy Dalton. Oh, I'm smelling pick sixes all Sunday
yeah,
for Andy Dalton.
yeah. How much of that has to do with so Canales is the new head coach? Some coaches when they get to rosters and they look at quarterbacks and
Casey's
they
scared he's
look
gonna
at
get
players,
fired because he ain't good.
it's not their guy. Like, oh, this ain't my
Yeah,
guy, but yet you took the job because
yeah. So
you were
shut your ass
hired to
up.
fix him. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
So shut
how,
your ass up.
how much of that plays into the whole, benching? Like,
But you
because
shouldn't have benched him if that's what you gotta know that you was brought in
right,
to turn the team into a winning team, and for the team to be a winning team, you gotta have a competent quarterback. So you gotta figure out how to fix the competent
right,
quarterback.
because there
So
should be no pressure.
to bench him after 2 weeks and then say he's still our quarterback is
Right.
filthy work.
Yeah, I
He's
don't
not
know
your
how he
quarterback.
comes back from that. I don't know how he comes back from that for real.
Yeah,
There,
yeah.
there should be there's no expectations this year for Carolina,
Right, at all. So let him play
even if
through it.
they won 7 games. Let's say they went 7-10, 8-9. Like that would be a
An
successful
accomplishment.
year for
Right,
Carolina. Like
right.
I just don't understand the urgency to want to bench the quarterback that was drafted. I get it's not your guy, but you got the job
But it
because
was his guy. It's like you don't get to do that your first year in.
you
You
were
ain't got
hired
no
to fix him. Yeah,
yeah, you don't get to do that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So unfortunate there. A game I did watch, man. I thought was a really good game. Texans in Chicago.
Yep.
Um, good game, man.
Good man.
I'll say this about Caleb Williams. I thought he looked better this week than he did last week, but the offensive line for Chicago, they're gonna get him killed if they don't straighten it out. And he's still trying to have that clock in his head because there was a sack he took where he didn't see the guy coming. And I'm like, man, you gotta throw that ball, bro. Like
Yeah.
you took 3 seconds too long to get rid of that ball. So I get he's working through some of that stuff. He looked a lot better. His throws were better, decision making was better, but
Yeah.
there's
Two
still
games.
work to be done. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously. I'm not putting no stock on Caleb Williams. I'm not putting no real criticism on Caleb Williams right now. He didn't
Hmm.
stink it up. So he cool for me right now. I'm not gonna have a real opinion of him until later in the
Hmm.
season.
Yeah, and I thought Chicago's defense kept them in the game. Shockingly,
But
because
they
I
yeah.
expected this to be a blowout. To be honest with you,
Really,
um, I expected the Texans to blow the Bears out. Honestly,
that
um,
Bears defense is not a soft defense though.
yeah, it's not. But I mean, we've seen the Texans carve up some, more
Yeah,
stouter
but
defenses. I mean, look what
yeah,
they did to
but
the Browns last year. So, you know,
yeah. I mean, I hear you, but nah. And New Year, too early in the season, and
sure.
nobody's really on all cylinders per se.
No, no, not at all. But just a little shocked that
Maybe the
wasn't
same.
in the 30s. Let me. I'll say that. I'm shocked the Texans didn't get into the 30s as far
No.
as scoring points
Yeah,
there.
that don't surprise me.
Yeah. All right. All right. That's what's up. Yeah. Let's get into some picks, man. Week number 3 in the NFL. Thursday night. Let's start off with we got the Patriots going to the Jets.
Jets.
Um, Jets look good. They look good against Tennessee. I'm gonna pick the Patriots in the
Okay.
upset special right there. All right. Sunday's games. Giants at Cleveland taking on the Browns.
I'm taking Cleveland.
Yeah, I'll take Cleveland also. Chicago going to the Colts.
Give me Chicago.
Hmm. Yeah, I kind of like that pick. Colts looking. It's a bad loss on
Yeah.
Sunday for them. Bad
And
loss on
Anthony
Sunday.
Richardson a little quiet.
Yeah, yeah. I just thought with no Jordan Love that the Colts will be able to get that one. But
Yeah.
that was a bad loss. I will take the Colts at home. I'll take the Colts at home. Give me Texans over the Vikings in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I will take the Saints at home over the Eagles. Now that's a toss-up game right there.
I am going to take. I'm gonna take the Eagles.
Okay,
I'm gonna
I
take
can
the
see
Eagles.
it going. I can
I'll
see it
be
going
honest
either
with
way.
you. I feel like that's a bad pick, but I'm gonna stick with it.
Okay, okay.
They definitely not scoring 40. They're not scoring 40 today
The Saints.
on Sunday. Yeah, they're not scoring 40 on the Eagles. I don't see that
Okay,
happening.
okay. All right. I'm sure you got Pittsburgh over the Chargers.
I do.
I do as well. I do think, and maybe we could bet on this. I think J.K. Dobbins gets 100.
Oh yeah, I take that bet easy.
I think he takes I think he gets 100
$20.
yards rushing. Huh?
I got 20 on that. I got 20 on that.
20? Okay. All right. I
Yeah.
bet you 20 on that.
I
I
bet.
bet you I bet you 20 on that. All right. Give me Buccaneers over the Broncos at home in Tampa.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. This is the Malik Willis reunion. Packers at the Titans.
Packers.
You going Packers here? I'm gonna go
Yeah.
Packers too, just because Will Levis is he's doing some
Looking
dumbass stuff
crazy.
right now. Yeah,
Looking
yeah.
crazy. Meanwhile, so Slim in Carolina gets benched and he gets to play when they got a capable backup in Tennessee.
Yeah, right. Mason Rudolph. I forgot about that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, they probably 2-0 with Mason Rudolph.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm gonna take the Raiders at home over Carolina.
Yeah.
Dolphins at the Seahawks. Who you got?
Seahawks.
Yeah, me too. Lions at the Cardinals. This should be fun.
I want to pick the Cardinals, but I'm not. I'm gonna pick the Lions, but I don't
Mhm.
know. I don't know if Carlton Davis can deal with Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, that's gonna be a shootout for sure, man.
I'm gonna
Cardinals,
pick
they put the brakes on the Rams last week, man. And prayers to Cooper Cup and Puka Nakua.
yeah.
They both gonna miss games over the next several weeks. Um,
Oh, I didn't know Nakua was out.
Nakua's
I
gonna be
heard I
out
saw
too.
Cooper Cup, but I didn't know Nakua was out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's gonna be rough for the Rams right there. Um, you know what, man? Give me. I'll take Detroit. I like what
Yeah.
Arizona did last week. I kind of liked them the first 2 weeks of the season, but I think the Lions. I think they get that bad taste out of their mouth after that loss. I think they can bounce back. Give me the Lions. I'm gonna take Ravens over the Cowboys. You feel
I'm
different
gonna take
about
the
that?
Cowboys. Yeah, take the Cowboys.
I'm
It's in
taking
Baltimore.
the. I'm picking the Ravens.
No, I'm saying it's in Baltimore.
No, it's in Dallas.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah,
in
I'm taking
Dallas.
Dallas.
The Ravens flock gonna be in the building. That's all I know. So
Mm.
um 49ers at the Rams. I'm gonna pick the 49ers, even with a depleted, roster.
But the
I'm
Rams
gonna
are
pick the
depleted.
49ers. The Ram, yeah, right. Right. Sunday night, Kansas City, give me them over the Falcons in Atlanta.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we got two Monday night games. I will take Buffalo at home over Jacksonville,
I'm with you.
and Commanders at the Bengals. Who you like?
You know what?
Yeah, nice win.
Give me
Nice little win
give me
over the Giants last
I'm
week.
going to I'm going to pick the Commanders to score some points this week.
Yeah.
Give me the Commanders.
Yeah. You know.
I'm lying. I'm lying. Never mind. I'm lying. I just remembered about the Commanders secondary. Give me the Bengals.
I mean, yeah, Jamar Chase, but I mean, you think the Bengals? You think they number 2 and 3 is gonna? Well, I guess the Commanders got torched by what's the name's number 2 and number 3
Let me
in
tell
the
you
first week.
something. Yeah, they could put.
Tampa,
I feel like
Tampa. That's right.
they could put three people on Jamar Chase the way that secondary plan, and Jamar Chase is going to find a way to get open.
Hmm. Yeah, I
Give
don't
me,
want to
give
pick the
me,
Bengals for
you
obvious
do what?
reasons. For
Yeah,
obvious reasons, but um, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to. Um, again, nice win over the Giants on
what
Sunday,
was it?
but
It was a win. I don't know if it was a nice win.
um, I mean, what they put up? What they
Seven,
put up? Seven field
seven
goals.
field goals.
Was it?
Malik Neighbors dropped a key
Hmm.
third down catch that should have at least extended the Giants' last drive.
Yeah,
But also Brian running game. He had a good running game. But they're not getting into the end zone.
yeah. That's the big thing, and I think
And it's
they
not like their
said,
defense. They played the Giants, bro. Like that's the short of it. They played the Giants and didn't get into the end zone.
yeah, right, and could have lost, could have
You're right.
lost that game, could have lost. I
Yeah.
think they said this was the first game that a team that scored 3 touchdowns and didn't give up touchdowns to the other team and lost the game,
You
something
know,
crazy
yeah,
like that. Um,
yeah, they
it could only
trash.
happen. It could only happen between those two teams, though.
Yeah.
Only those two teams. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, IG Live. Shout out to Jazz for coming through.
Yes,
Shout out
indeed.
to yeah, definitely dope conversation to have there. Just make sure y'all continue to follow us. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and tell a friend and tell a friend. Click the like button on the Facebook page. Also, we got the Twitch channel. Follow us on Twitter at Barbershop SPOR2. Follow us on Instagram at Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. And if you got questions, comments, hit us up on the email at barbershopsportstalk1@gmail.com. I also got, we still got these hats, New Era snapback hats with the black netting. Still got several of them. I just sold one last week. So you guys interested, hit me up, shoot me a DM. Still got some left in the bin. These are some real good hats, y'all. So, don't miss out. And then also in the link of the description of this episode, we got another merch store. So we got some other hats and t-shirts, and guess we're going to be starting to, get into that hoodie season. So we'll definitely get some, hoodies up on there for y'all. So, check out the merch store. Got some good stuff. Hopefully looking to add more to it as well. And for myself, Trey Frazier, the homie Maestro Styles, love, peace, and happiness to everybody out there. And as always, folks, mind your damn business.
Drink some water.
Oh, yeah, we got him. Trey Frazier and Maestro Styles, we got one. Right back like we left some. We don't duck smoke, we want all of it. So line them up, Trey sharp with the blade, we sizing it up. I'm quick to catch the fade, Styles making the cut. Cause we coming out clean every time that we showing up.
It's gonna be called The Barbershop.